Hi everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Geography class. I'm glad to have you with us. I am your host today again, Teacher Parit. So today we're gonna continue from what we left off from last week. I hope you still remember what we have studied last week. So before you go further, I want you to sit down and take a minute, pause the video, and try to remember all we have learned from last week. If you are done, then continue the video and let's go. Okay, so do you remember what rays are they? From the left, the middle, and the right? I hope you do, because the answer is from the left to right. First one is Mediterranean race. Number 2 is Alpine race, and number 3 is Viking or Nordic race. These are the sub-race from the Caucasoid race, which is basically to say quite a white people. That is the easy way to explain the Caucasoid. Okay, or in Thai we call ฝรั่ง Okay, so this is just the recap from last week. Okay, let's move on. Now, today we are going to talk about the demographic change of Europe. So the word demographics can also be mean populations, people. Okay. So the population change in Europe is in a slightly degree, meaning there not much change from time to time. In 2001, there were approximately 727 million people in Europe. But in 2016, there were only 703 million people. But compared from 727 and 703 millions, is not much difference. So that's why we call them slightly degree in change. So Europe has the third highest population in the world, next to Asia and Africa, meaning the population in Europe are much higher than the one in North America, South America, and Australia and Oceania. The density of population is about 84 people per square kilometers. So that means within the areas of 1 square kilometer, there are 84 people living. Just the comparison to see the ratio between the population and the land in Europe. So the numbers of European people in each region, we can divide the region into 4, the Northern Europe, the Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and Southern Europe. So let's start with number 1. Northern Europe has 10 countries. There are 1,748,553 square kilometers of area, and it's ranked number 2, the biggest area in the Europe. The population is at 103 million people, ranking number 4. Western Europe has 9 countries. It has the area at 200,803 square kilometers, ranking number 4, which means it's the smallest part of Europe. It has, however, 193 million people, ranking in number 2 in the total populations of Europe. Eastern Europe has 10 countries. It has 5,688,069 square kilometers, marking them the biggest area in Europe. They also has 257 million populations, which is ranking number 1 in the Europe. However, this number does not include the area of Russia, which is located in Asia. and also does not include the population of Russia that located in Asia part. So if you remember last time when we talked about in geography, when we take a look at the maps of Europe, you can see that Russia has been divided in half. So the western part of Russia is in Europe continent and the eastern part is in Asia continent. So in this case, we does not count other Russians that are not living in the Europe part. So the last part is the Southern Europe, which has 16 countries. However, it only has 1,316,827 square kilometers, which is ranking on only number 3. And it has only 150 million population, ranking in number 3. So the total numbers of the countries are 45 countries and 23,065,596 square kilometers in the total areas of Europe. And the population in total is 703 million people. So where do most people live in Europe? The answer is the western, the central, southern, and partly eastern part of Europe. So basically, people are living almost in every region except for the northern part, because the northern part have slightly colder and colder climate than the other part of Europe, making it hard for living conditions. So people not usually live in the north as much as the western, the central, southern, and some part of eastern. So the countries are Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Great Britain, north of France, Czech Republic on the east of Great Plain, southern part of Poland, Ukraine, western part of Russia. So these are the countries that have slightly high populations of European population. So where did they choose to live? So you know where are the people living the most in Europe, and now it's time to see what location in those areas they chose to live. The population settled down along the main rivers, such as River Rhine, Volga, Danube, Rhone, Dnieper, and Oder. So these are the main rivers in Europe. And the reasons people chose to live near rivers is because in the past and today in many regions around the world, people choose to live near river source because it's providing water supply, which is significant for surviving. And also humans culture tend to producing the agriculture. So we need water to support our agriculture, to grow food, to create communities. So that's explain why many people chose to live nearby the river or water source. So the rivers area become communities, agriculture, and commerce part. Also, the rivers allow people to carry their goods and products to have commerce in other markets, go by boat or ships through the rivers and canal. Because in the past we does not have any cars, truck, pickup truck, or even airplane. So boat and ships are the best transportation for carrying goods and products to sell at another markets in other countries. That's why people chose to live near rivers. So here, this is the map of the population density in Europe. You can see there are lots of people living in the western part. The red and darker red represent higher population density. The lighter colors, such as yellows and white represent the low density of population. So the populations are right here in the central plain, the western part, southern part, and a little bit on the east part. However, if you can see on the north parts of Europe, the colors are not only yellow but white, meaning there are less densities of population living per square kilometers. So what are the causes of change in populations of Europe? Number one is economic problems. So economic problems, why does it cause the change of populations? Just think about this way. If you are going to have children, the thing that you need is money. If you can't make lots of money, you can't support your family, you can't support your kids' education, you can support your kids' medication, you can support their kids' safety, or even happiness. So economic problems causing people to be aware of their actions, such as building their family. So when there are lots of economic problems, they tend to lose or hard to find works or jobs, or have they are competitive in finding incomes. So people try not to build the family first and wait until they are secure in their financial. Next is riots in several countries. So economic problems can cause riots because people are not satisfied of the government actions, so they create riots, or they are too much to bear, so people cannot be patient anymore. They start protesting, riots, and causing the political stability and economic stability of the country. When there are lots of riots, if you can remember the events that happened in Thailand a couple years ago, this caused many investors from other countries to stop from investing in Thailand because they're afraid the situation may get worse and they may lose lots of money, so they try not to come for investment until the situation is clear. So that caused many populations in this area to migrate to another country that have more stable in politics and economy. Again, another is the unionization of European Union, or EU, if you know what EU means. So European Union is the unionization of countries within Europe's continent. They consist of 28 members. So what the benefit provide by being in the same union, in the European Union, that allow people to go to work, go to live freely within the continent without requiring visa or using passport. They can use their ID to identify. And also the currency, which is they adopt the same currency as I mentioned earlier from last week. The euro currency allows people to pay and spend money much more easier and have more equal rates of spending. So allow them to live in other country more easily. And that's quite attract people to move to better countries, or countries with lots of jobs available, and countries with more modern development. So people from eastern part of Europe, such as Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, migrate to the central and southern part of Europe. Central and southern part are more economic stable and more developed, just like I mentioned earlier. So population change and high living costs, population change and high living costs cause lack of labor. So when there are high population change and high living costs, meaning if the numbers of populations are reducing or they're moving elsewhere, causing the labor force in the countries are reducing. And also with the high living costs, also pushing the price or the cost of labor to be significantly higher. Therefore, African, Asia, and South America labor migrate to work in industry, services, and agricultural part in Europe. Like I said, when there are not much people want to work for little monies and to pay a high living cost, they tend to find another job that secure their financial better than being a labor force. So these leave an empty space for labor force, allowing the people who were living in Africa, Asia, and South America seek opportunity to find a better living standard and better paid job in Europe. So they come to fill the labor, causing the change of population. If we count these people who migrate from other parts of the countries, can increase in the numbers of population that are living in Europe. So birth, death, and migration rate. Again, divide the region into four: the Northern Europe, Western, Eastern, and Southern Europe. The birth rate in this case is per 1,000 people. So the Northern Europe has 12,000 people death rate per day. Western Europe has 10,000. Eastern has 12,000, and Southern has only 9,000. So the average rate is around 11,000 people die. 11,000 people born. Okay, and the second table, second row, the third row is the death rate per 1,000 people. So the Northern Europe, we have 9,000 people dead. In Western, we have 10,000 people dead. Eastern, we have 13,000 people dead. So this part of area tend to have higher death rate in the Europes, and southern part is at 10,000 people per day. So the average is is equal 11 and 11 from birth and death rates. So migration. This is migration rate within Europe. So Northern Europe have migrate people around 3,000 people. Western have 8,000 people. Eastern have -1, Southern has 0. So in this case, are the numbers of people who migrate to that regions. So the Northern Europe have the rate is 3,000 people migrate to their region. The Western have 8,000 people migrate to their regions, and Eastern Europe have -1, meaning the people in Eastern Europe usually migrate to other regions, causing them to lose the population. And the Southern Europe have people who moving out and people who moving in, so it's equal to 0, meaning the population is not changed, because if someone goes, will be someone replaced. So the average rate is around 2,000 people for migration. Now, let's talk about the social and cultural features of Europe. So before we begin, I want you to imagine, what do you think when we talk about the peoples in Europe? What do you think? How will they behave? What are the relationship between peoples in the family? What are the relationship between people and the government in the countries? What is the ideology? What will they think in terms of politics and economics, and in terms of freedoms and liberty? Okay, so general social and cultural features. Europe is urban society. The diversity of industry leading people to work and settle in cities areas. So this is quite understandable when people want to have a better living standard, to have better income, so they need to find the work source. So the place where they can find work in the countries like in Europe are the industrial areas. So they tend to go in the cities to settle near their workplace, which causing the Europes to develop into an urban societies. So European societies are democratic society, just like ours, but they are something a little bit different from our democratic society. So democracy influence families' relations. Okay, family in Europe is a single family consists of father, mother, and child. Each of them is taught to be independent, rely on his or her own self, and be part of decision making regarding matters in family. So this is the concept that are quite different from Thailand. If we compare to Thailand, if you take a look at your family, at your home, you can see that many of your parents, when they say they try to let you uh, think on your own, when they try to let you decide on your own, but actually they are deciding things for you. They're not let you to be independent. They try to control, they try to manage your life for you. So that is the traits of the people in Asia culture. So in Europe are more different. People will be allowed to be independent, rely on themselves first. Unless they need assistance, then the family will help them. But if they don't, they're not gonna step in, let them live on their own. But everyone will have parts in decision making. So when we decide to do something within the family matters, everyone has a voice, has a right to decide, to choose. Unlike in Thailand, mostly the decision making within the family matters are based on the leader of the family, which either be father or mother or both, but not the child. And back again a little bit, that the European society are democratic society that differ from Thai democratic society because over there democracy is origin from Europe, so they are the blueprint of democracy that introduced throughout the world. So the way they develop, they are valuing liberty and freedoms, respecting of others, and self-discipline. So European society are educated societies with 99% of the population is educated. So they have so many and high education rates within the population. Only 1% of the population may be not educated or uneducated, but 99% is completely educated as standard. So the countries in Europe are very developed in all aspects. Living standard is high, which cause the population growth to be low. Okay, so this is understandable. Why does the population growth is low? If you remember, they also had 99% of the population educated. In this case, if we compare to Asia or the Southeast Asia or even Thailand, the population growth tend to have higher rates on people with no education, because in the nature of people when they married or when they are being boyfriends and girlfriends, then the nature of humans is to repopulate the population, meaning to have child, to take over in next generations. So in this case, people with no educations, when they try to may I have to say this because this is related to sexual, but you are able to listen to this. This is scientific, okay? So when people have sex, okay, the people who have education, they know, they make plans, they protect themselves from transfer the disease and for causing pregnant, for unplanned pregnancy. So this is why people with no education don't know how to protect the unplanned pregnancy, causing them to have kids again and again and again. So these people with no education, if the rates of people with less education are high, it's more chance of population to grow faster than the country with the high rates of education. So people tend to know what they should do, how do they protect and prevent from this problem to happen. So that's why the population growth in Europe are quite low. The social state of Europe can be concluded by high development in science and technology, that daily life is scientific applied. So basically, they are relying on technology more often, and the more technological advancement in the future will also benefit for their daily life. Europeans have high materialistic development, but still the value in the environmental conservation, their local custom and traditions, even though they rely on more on the materials, such as if you can compare our people working to get money to buy stuff. The more money they have, the more stuff, the more brand name, the more expensive things they have, is showing them the higher status in the society. So those are what Europeans become, and as well as many developing countries like Thailand also become. But in Europe, they do not throw away the value in environmental conservation, meaning they still care about the environment, care about the other animal life, care about the forest, they care about their surrounding. They want the world to be sustained. They want the earth, the world, to coexist with human, because if without environment, the human cannot survive. So that's what they take in value. And also the local custom and their traditions, they still maintain and carry on from times to times. No matter what, how much technological advancements have effect on their life, their local custom and traditions still in their mind. So they are urban society rather than local societies, which means the small towns are now evolved into bigger cities. They are expansions of cities, or at least they try to introduce more technological advancement and change from rural area into urban like cities. They are valued in freedoms, liberty, and democracy. People are self-disciplined and serious about their work. So if you met with the European people, they are really on time. So I met one teacher from Great Britain, from UK, United Kingdom. We make an appointment with him at 10 a.m. in the morning. So I came on the time, not late. I arrived at the location when we rendezvous at 10 a.m. But he was there for almost an hour ago because he afraid that he's going to come late or miss the time of appointment. So he come first and stay there and wait until the time comes. So that's how much responsibility of the people in Europe are. And also, family are small with low numbers of members, and they are having a loose relationship, which means, like I said, the family consists of father, mother, and child, and that's it. We're not including grandma or grandpa, uncle, aunt. None of that matters in the family of Europe. You only care about your own family. And the relationship is quite loose within the family as well. For example, in Thailand, when you were born as an infant, as a baby, your parents tend to keep you close, but not the case of Europeans. They will build a specific room for their child, and then they let their baby or their infant child to live in that room to create the sense of ownership from the beginning. And they will monitor the needs of the babies through the radio communication. So they put the walkie-talkie nearby the child, and then they put the one nearby the rooms or where they are, so they can listen and monitor, but also create the sense of freedoms and liberty and rights of ownership to the children from the beginning, unlike Thai children, which is you have to sleep with your parents, but some parents allow you to have your own rooms. But most of the parents would like to keep you close for many reasons, such as it's cheaper, more effective, more economical. You don't have to pay for electric for 2 air conditionings. Instead, you pay one and let everyone sleep in the same room. However, that's not create the sense of freedom and liberty to the children from the beginning. Okay, so the culture are vary according to environment, race of population, such as cuisine, clothing, norms, beliefs, and language. So cuisine or food that were having their own signature. They have their own cuisine differently based on the environment they live, based on the race they are. So the food in French and the food the French food or the food in France and the food in England are quite different. For example, England is really on to tea. So they would drink tea with almost everywhere. When you see it in the movies, they are tea time, they are afternoon tea, tea party. So this is more like a United Kingdom or Great Britain culture. So that's their cuisine. But for French is more like if you think about the French cuisine, it can be a croissant. So croissant is kind of the bread that are specialized in France. There are other stuff like macaron. It's the sweet snack. There were signatures of France, and there are also many other stuff. For clothing, in each area they tend to dress differently, but contemporarily and similar to each other. For example, the people who live in the northern part, which is having a really cold climate, they tend to wear thicker fabric such as fur coats or many layers of clothing. But again, the people in the southern part or in the western part, they tend to wear thinner clothes due to the environments of having a warmer climate, so they do not require thick layers of clothing to keep them warm in the cold climates. And also there are another influencing in clothing such as the culture, their race, and their religion belief also influence in different details of clothing they wear. Norms and belief. People have different belief due to their different culture around within Europe, but still similar to each other, only slightly different, such as the way they view things, the way they believe. And the last one is the major one, the language. Language is also differ in many areas of Europe, but we're gonna talk about that in the other slide, which is specified on languages. So similar traits are the democratic and Christian culture. So this is what European countries have in similar. They are democratic and they believe in Christian. So European believes in God, Jesus, and the next world. Religion belief has its roots in foundation of European society and traditions. So if you remember from the past, if you know the Pope is basically the highest rank in the Christian society. We talk in terms of human being, not the prophet or God themselves. Okay, in the human Christian society, Pope is the highest, the leader of the religions. And in the past, the Pope is significantly higher power than the king. The Pope can basically control the way the king will think using the religion belief. So that's explain how much the religion belief has its roots in the foundation of European societies and many traditions, such as the Christmas Day and Valentine days. So these days regarding in the religion belief, and that is part of the foundations of European societies and traditions. People are freedom loving, they express themselves, they respect others, they accept the majority, and they have the strict discipline. So these are the traits of many European people. They tend not to like when someone is keeping them in, let's say, keeping them from having freedoms of choosing things, freedom of expressing what they believe, what they want to say. When the government try to use law or other stuff to keep people to speaking or express their feeling and ideas, that is when people start to get mad and start to protesting to reclaim their rights of freedoms. And also, people, when they speak something, when they do things, when they're living in the society, they respect each other. So everyone has their own rights, and everyone needs to respect other people's rights and ideas. So they are not trying to fighting to put their ideas or put their belief over other people, which is very, very easily to see in Thailand, in Thai society, that many people tend to not respecting other people's belief and ideas and feelings. We try to put our thoughts over other people, even though you may be wrong or you may be right, but that is not the case. You have to respect each other, and accepting majority is the other things, key ideas that make this politics in Europe are slightly more stable, because people, when we decide all together, we may not have the same decide or answer, but we will decide with the majorities of the people. So in 100 people, for example, one said that we should wear red on Monday, and one said we should wear yellow on Monday, right? So 100 people, 55 people choose to wear yellow, and 45 people choose to wear red. Even though there are lots of people who it's almost match, but nonetheless people have to accept the majority side, which means the people will wear yellow on Monday because 55% of people choose to do it. Okay, so these types of culture appear within the family to administration of the countries. So people not only practice this belief within the family, they also practice this in society and throughout the administration of the countries. So making the politicians more effectively when creating the strategies and doing things for the countries. But truth be told, it may not be that way, because in politics they are come with profits and benefits, and they are come with the competitions. They come with intervention with many companies that also can cause the way people think. So that can lead to many corruptions, and that's the case of the government and administration around the world. Okay. Europeans are known for linguistic culture. Language used in Europe are called Indo-European language. So what are Indo-European language? Indo-European language can divide into three different types of language. Number one is Romance language. Primarily, this language derives from Latin. It widely used in the southern part of Europe, such as the French, Italian, Spanish, and Portugal. So these languages are within the groups of Romance language that derive from Latin. Next is Teutonic or Germanic language. This used in northern and central Europe. Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, German, Dutch, Flemish, and English are part of Teutonic or Germanic language. Slavic language widely used in Eastern Europe. It's subdivided in Northern and Southern Slavic. So the Northern Slavic is used by Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Belarus. Or Northern Slavic, we are known this language as Russian. And the Southern Slavic used by Serbia, Montenegro, Hungary, Bulgaria, and southern part of Ukraine. These Southern Slavic, we also know them as Hungarian. Okay, so not be confused. The correct way to call it Northern Slavic and Southern Slavic, but Northern known as Russian and Southern known as Hungarian. So, social and cultural change in Europe. Europe consists of various countries that are long developed with educated people, good economy, and low rates of population growth. So people give attention to the conservation of culture and traditions. People share Christian culture, causing the external culture to have slight influence on their way of life. Meanings: Europe will have little change in the social and cultural conditions, so it will maybe develop and adapt to fit within the time periods to be contemporary with the current situation, the current way of life, to the present, but it will still maintain the core idea of their beliefs and their cultures and traditions from the past, and people try to conserve it, not making it change or easily change. So the local communities are changing to more urban. This is the social change in Europe. It's not changing in the values of culture and traditions, but changing in the interactions in the society. So from rural people living close together, living in a small community, it's changing and moving toward being an urban and city-like community and society. So basically they try to be bigger, and people tend to have loosened relationship between each other because the big cities is not like the close small town. The modern technology also play important roles in the way of living. So before, people do not rely on the modern technology as much, but now it's a part of everyday life. It's a part of developments in Europe. So social state is particularly changed in the Southern Europe. Why is that? Because the newborn countries, free from the colonies, like the country of Slovenia, Albania, Croatia, Macedonia, Serbia, and Bosnia, are being modernized. So these countries used to be under the colonies of other countries, meaning they don't have the freedom they're supposed to be. They are not free state. They does not have the sovereignty to rule their own countries. But when they were being free, they regain all of their sovereignty, allowing them to choose any directions that they want their countries to be. And that is causing the modernization of their countries, causing the social structure, the way they used to live in their country, change forever. These countries solving economic problems and developing their country. So when they solve the economic problems, if it's going well and people have higher income, better living standard, that can cause the change in society. Agriculture and mine are altered to tourist service. So these countries were used as the source of food productions and source of material productions. So that there be agricultural sector and mining countries will be changed and altered to tourist services. Some people move to work in Italy and Western Europe where it is more developed. And this also caused the cultural and social change because people from the other country brought their beliefs and culture to the other country. Even though they are similar, they are slightly different, slightly changed. And also the people who moving to other part have to learn the where people in that part they move in live. So that caused the change in social and cultural. And also another factors that caused the social change in Europe is the Eastern Europe also rapidly changed because they were once controlled by communism. But after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 or 1992, depends on what you're holding the time period for. You can say it's 1991 or 1992 that the fall of Soviet Union. It's both correct, okay? So this is the tips a little bit. In 1992, they prefer the collapse of the Berlin Walls that divide Germans in half. So when that walls go down, that wall is the statue that represent communism. Some people say that when the Soviet Union falls in 1991, it's considered as the end of communism. But some people hold the destroying, the collapsing of Berlin Wall as the fall of Soviet Union and communism. So these countries within the colonizations or the part of the Soviet Union, they become shift toward democracy. If you remember, Russia is not the Soviet Union alone. There are many countries such as Ukraine, Czech Republic and Bosnia and so on and so forth. Those are the small countries that were part of the Soviet Union. But when the Soviet Union collapsed, the main Soviet Union can maintain is the Russian federations, and the rest spread out to be smaller countries. So this is the example. This is very, very beautiful sceneries and tourist attraction. Can you guess where this is? Remember, I talked earlier in last week about the place I want to go in Europe. And I mentioned one country. Can you guess what it is? Okay, I assume you remember. And the answer is Croatia. So Croatia is altered from being agricultural countries. They tend to push forward for tourism markets to allow the tourists around the world to come and travel in their countries. So when the tourists come, they brought money to spend within the countries, increasing the economy of the country as well. And also, when there are lots of people traveling, the economic develop, making people from around the world want to invest in this part of the country with good economy to further benefit and making more profits. So it's a chain reactions. This can cause the change in the social and cultural of their countries. The general economic feature of Europe is considered the continent with high economic development due to the supportive factors such as richness of the natural resources, major advance in science and technology, quality of skilled people, educated people, large markets, good reserve currency, strong political stability. Economic features of Europe are categorized as being an agriculture, mining, industry, commerce, and transportation business. So this is the economy of the countries, which has significance on each other to the economic of Europe. So like I said, many countries still in agriculture, many countries still have mining business, and many parts of Europe are industry area. They also do commerce because Europe is one of the big market in the world. People want to come here and have trading, have doing business with Europe, and also transportation due to being a big continent and lots of people living in. So transportation is also important and become the economic of the Europes. So let's see. Number 1, agriculture. Europe is limited in terms of size, area, and workforce. Why does agriculture grow? They don't have much size and area to work for agriculture, and also lacking on the workforce. The modern science and machinery. Remember when I talk about Europe is being a highly educated population, they have high rates of modern technology and machinery. So these help in assisting the increased productivity with no impact on environment. So meaning they can produce more with less harm to the environment. Unlike other parts of the world such as Thailand, for example. So when we want to increase our agricultural products, we tend to use the pesticide to kill all the insects and bugs and whatever that try to damage the crops products. But that case, when we use too much, it also cause the health issue. People can have the negative effect or bad for their health from consuming this contaminate with the pesticide. And also other part of the ecosystem, some insects that does not harm the crops but also benefit to the growth of their crops can also die, damaging and destroying the ecosystem, and the soil can accept the chemical which damage and causing them to degrade it later, causing farmers were unable to grow crops within the same land anymore. So in Europe there are no problems regarding in this category because they are very advanced in technology and the machinery. They use machine to what they do with the machine. So they replace the people and labor with machine. So they have the workforce problem, no problem. We just use machine and replace those people with machine. We buy, even though it's had high cost to buy and high to maintain, but it's more reliable and it can work overnight 24/7 and making the work more efficient. So the characteristics of agriculture are cultivation, animal husbandry, fishery, and forestry. So number 1, let's talk about the cultivation. Cultivation is basically you grow crops and then you collect the products provided by the crops. Europe use machine instead of man labor and modern technology to manage production as well as maintain of soil. So like I said earlier, due to the high advance in technology, machinery, they are able to produce more products, replace man labor, and maintain the quality and sustainably growing crops. The most cultivated plants are in cereal groups. So Europe's are very famous for cereals such as wheat, barley, corn, oat, rye, and potato. The important plantings areas are in the Western Plain. The reason they are in the Western Plain and Central Europe and some part of the Eastern Europe because you remember the Great Plain, the Central Plain that are flat area, good for growing crops because of the slightly elevated and let's say it's flat, so easy to create crops, and also in that area due to the sediment from the early age the in that area there are the sediments of soil and many nutrients within the soil, allowing the farmer to grow crops more easily. Next, cultivation. Except for the cereal, they also cultivate in fruits. So the cultivations of fruits is found across the continent, especially in the Mediterranean climate regions such as Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, Greece, and Albania. And the famous fruits that were cultivated in Europe are orange, olive, apple, grape. So olive is magok, but it's different magok from Thai magok. Okay, so if you watch many movies such as James Bond, his drinks, the vodka martini, shaken not stir, right? Within that martini, there are what's pickle, not they are olive, the salted olive, หรือมะกอกดอง right? The olive in Europe they have slightly bigger in size and the color is black. They also put olive in pizza for their topping also, so it's different from makok we eat in Thailand. Okay. Next is animal husbandry. So animal husbandry in Europe is a large closed farm. So unlike the farm in other countries or in Thailand, we have both closed and open farm. So open farms we allow animals to live freely. We do not maintain the temperature or the condition of the place where the animal will live. Unlike in the closed area, they control temperature, they control the ventilation, they control the sanitaries, and they control food easily than the open farming. So modern technology helps in strain selection. Strain selection is choosing the varieties of the animal. So they use the modern technology to select which one is better than the other one and which one is not, because sometimes when they were newborn, they may have the similar looks and color, and it's really hard to know which strain or variety that animal is. But with the technology, it's allow you to select it correctly and more efficiently. Next is artificial insemination. Insemination is basically the fake reproductive of animals. So let's speak easily. When animal has sex and then we not call has sex, but they reproduce, by engage in intercourse, right? So it release sperm and sperm travel to the ovule and then it become pregnant. But in this case, that is the normal ways, the original ways of reproductive of many animals. But it takes time. Sometimes when it's not the seasons, it will not have any hormone to stimulate that actions. So human can use artificial insemination by collecting the sperm and then mixing with the eggs of the animals and then put it to grow naturally. So basically we perform that action without letting them to do by themselves and wait to the time. So it makes more efficient, and we can also choose the quality varieties from the artificial insemination. So growth follow-ups also it provides lots of benefits. So when you try to check up how well your animal is growing up, sometimes it's really hard to see, it's really hard to know why it's not growing or why it's growing too fast. With the technology, they can measure with the accurate data to provide you the best suggestion how to take care of your animals, and also to know when it's ready to be used to be collect their products or not. And also another production process doing by the more advanced technology, meaning you produce more effectively. It has cheaper in cost of production because of the efficient productions. Okay, so some farms operate along with the plantation in the form of mixed agriculture, so they can have their crops and they can have the animal farm doing together, just like what the late King Bhumibol suggests in the philosophy of sufficiency economy. So main domestic animals are beef cattle and milk cow. These two animals, they used to produce beef, which is we consume, and daily products such as liquid milk, powdered milk, cheese, and butter. If you see it in the picture, on the top right side, that's the meat, very high quality meat from Europe, and on the left side is cheese. So cheese is very famous products in Europe. They have many varieties, like around 366 varieties of cheese, I believe. So in 1 year you cannot, even though you eat different cheese every single day, you cannot finish it within 1 year. And cheese also a very good products that provide good economy of many countries such as Italy, Netherlands, and France. And on the top picture, if you see here, this is caviar. So caviar is the eggs of cod fish, right? So they grow in farms. Caviar is very expensive. If you're looking at this product right here, this probably costs around like 10,000 baht. Very expensive. Okay, the second most raised animal after the beef cattle and the milk cow are sheep, pigs, chicken, horse. Okay, horse, we raise them for working, racing, and trading horse. Okay, we do not eat them. And reindeer, but however reindeer in Europe, they grow for pulling the sled and also being food, so they eat reindeers. If you didn't know, deer are being consumed as food in other culture, like in North America and in Europe, but only in some part. Okay, so reindeer does not mean rain, ฝนตกนะ rain, R-E-I-N. Reindeer is basically the deer with rein หรือบังเหียน กวางที่ไว้ใช้ควบคุมได้ okay, so that is what reindeer means. And of course reindeer cannot fly. Okay, do not ask me why. I do not know, because if you can fly Santa Claus, then you could believe that reindeer is able to fly. Okay, so the main areas of husbandry area are Northern Europe, which in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. The Western Europe, like UK, France, Germany, and Belgium. Eastern Europe, like Russia, Ukraine, Romania, Hungary, Poland, and Belarus. And in the Southern Europe, they also had some in Italy, Spain, and Greece, but not as much as in other three regions. Now, fishery. Fishery is also another important economic in Europe because Europeans are expertise in fishery. So these people is good in catching fish. Due to the sporting environment, such as a long curved coast, so Europe connect to many parts of sea, and they have long coasts for many countries to reach into the water, to reach into the sea, into the ocean, and catch fish. And near Europe also is a fish-rich source, meaning they have lots of fish living nearby Europe. And they also have the modern technology and technical expertise, will allowing them to locate fish, to capture fish more effectively with a low cost. And some some fishing boat were allowed to survive in the ocean for months, so they can capture lots of fish. They have the cooling storage, which means they can freeze the fish and be able to capture lots of fish before they coming back to the shore. So that how well the technology and technical expertise are able to provide the benefit of being expertise in fishery of European. And the place the people in Europe used to catch fish the most is Dogger Bank, which is in the North Sea. It's around 160 kilometers from the coast. It is an ample fishing area. And why it's an ample fishing area? Because these areas are the area that the warm current and the cold current meet each other. And when that conditions allow lots of plankton to live. So plankton live in that areas a lot in this condition between the meeting of cold and warm currents. And plankton in the aquatic life is the food source for many fish, squid, and many other aquatic life, causing them to living in that area the most because they can find lots of food source. And therefore, people traveling there to capture fish. Important fish are cod, herring, mackerel. Okay, mackerel is a fancy name to call if we know in Thai as pla tu, not tuna. Tuna and pla tu is different varieties of fish. Okay, pla tu is mackerel, tuna is tuna. After mackerel, we have haddock, halibut, and sardine. Okay, sardine fish is also the important fish in European fisheries. Fish can be sold in either a fresh fish or processed fish, which is the canned or dry fish. So this is also another very important economy of Europe. So countries like UK, Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, Denmark, France, Germany, Russia, Italy, Spain, and Greece are in the fishery business. Today, due to high technological advancements and their expertise for over a century that allowed them to capture lots of fish, causing the number of aquatic life to be drastically reduced. And they have to travel further into the sea in order to find more fish. Sadly, but true. Other economics of the Europe's continent is forestry. Forestry is found only in Northern Europe, and it is a pine forest. So in the Northern Europe, lots of pine forests and pine trees can be used in varieties of products such as paper, furniture, so on and so forth. So the best place to find pine forests is in the north, especially in Finland and Sweden. So due to the deforestation problems in the past that almost caused the forests in Europe, the forestry in the country like Finland and Sweden is only allowed in the reforestation area. So these trees that they cut, they regrow them, so creating a sustainable way of doing business. So they will not run out of trees, they will not destroy the nature. When they take, they give back. So they do it in cycle. So by doing so, we allow them to have the resource for over and over, not the limit resource like before. Forestry products are paper and wood products like wood sheets, furniture, and ready-made house. If you know, many house in the Europe or in some part of Thailand we use wood to create, but now in Thailand they're not as much because of the weather. So we try to build more concrete based house to protect us from the weather like rain, storm, or even flood. Next economy is mining. So the mining business in Europe The mineral resource is scarce in Europe due to century-long mining. This mining, Europe is the first continent to dig up the mineral, which means many countries around the world, many continents also dig in the ground for long times ago, which means Europe have been using the mineral underground for over centuries. And also technology were used to locate and extract the mineral, which making them too easily to find and extract, causing the mineral underground to even scarce faster. The mineral in the mining business are coal, iron, bauxite, and copper. Today, mining production is not meet the demand in the industry anymore because the earlier reasons that Europe's they easily to find and extract the leftover mineral underground, causing the mineral to vanish much quicker than the other part of the countries. And due to the long time mining, the mineral underground is not much left and cannot meet the demand in the industry. Therefore, they have to import the other mineral or ore from other countries. Next is industry in Europe. Europe, particularly in the West, is highly developed. Industry is widespread since 18th century, very long times ago. The countries like United Kingdom, France, they have very developed in industry. Also Germany. Europe can produce almost all kinds of industrial products that the technologies allow them to. Because of the long times of being business of industry, they are very proficient in this field of economy, allowing them to produce many industrial products as basically everything that the technology at that time allowed them to build. So in 20th century, a new industrial countries from the North America, Asia, has forced Europe to change the strategy due to the disadvantage in raw material, labor, and capital. In a country like America, it's a very big continent. For example, the United States of America and Canada, they are two giant countries which they have lots of resources within the land. And also another part of the world from Asia. There are many countries from Asia that try to compete with Europe's countries like China, India, and many in Southeast Asia that want to compete and have share in the European markets. Okay. And these countries also have the advantage in having more raw material because they are developing and newly developed countries, which means they do not use the resource as much as the European used to build their continent back in the day, where the technology is not that much advanced and the effectiveness or the efficiency of using the raw material are not like today, meaning they waste lots of their fortune already. And these newcomer, these newborn countries are trying to push in and compete with Europe, forcing Europe to change the strategy. And the way they change the strategy, they now are focused on more modern technology industrial, which produce less but able to cost more due to the higher quality. For example, in the past they used people to do. They have the same quality with the products from China. However, China are able to build the products much cheaper due to the cost of labor, which is higher and more expensive in Europe. So instead from doing the same products that they can't compete, they will upgrade their qualities of products to sell in much in higher market than the current markets. And that is the strategy that many European industrial are adopting. So industry in Europe are iron and steel, vehicles, watches, glasses, glassware, leather crafting, perfume, weapons, machineries, medicine products, and food products. If you see in the picture, we have the iron and steel. We have the vehicle production. In this case, this is the Land Rover factory. We have the paper factory, and we also have a power plant, which is part of the Europe industry. Okay, closer look at the vehicle plantation factory. So you can see they, even though they use people to do this, is more high quality, higher standard for the brand like Rolls-Royce. So Rolls-Royce, only some part will use robot to manufacture the car, but the almost 100% were used by human and by hands. So making them to have much higher quality and being more expensive. Comparing Rolls-Royce, the brand new one, and the brand new Toyota. So for example, we talk about the Rolls-Royce Phantom, which costs in Thailand around 20 to 30 million baht. But a car like Toyota Camry, which is considered as an expensive car for middle class of Thailand, it's only costs 1,500,000 baht. So you see the difference in price. Rolls-Royce is much higher in cost because of the higher quality that European industry try to adopt. Okay, so these are the watches. You know, the Patek Philippe is very expensive watch. Each one of them are cost around millions and more baht. And also they have a perfume like Chanel No. 5, very famous perfume from Paris, considered as art and fashion perfume. And the last one in the handbag is the Hermes, also from France. Very expensive and fashionable, higher quality. Everyone would like to have one. They will try to do anything to get one bag to lift up their social status. People will see them as rich and success. Okay, commerce of Europe. Europe is where the commerce flourished since ancient times. So basically, Europe is almost the center of the commerce for long times ago. And today, Europe is the important market that many countries want to do the business with due to the high purchasing power. Europe import raw materials such as ore, crude oil, instant food, fertilizer, cement, steel, and electronic parts from other continents. But also they export industrial products such as machines, vehicle, chemical, electronic equipment, software, medicine, daily products, instant food, and wine. For example, the reason that they're doing this is, as you can see, they don't have much of material left in their countries anymore. So they import those materials, the raw materials, and these materials were used to produce, it's a part, it's an ingredients of the other products that when they buy the material from other countries, they produce industrial products that they can sell back to that country with higher price, causing them to have a higher profit. European Union produce around 35% of world production in industrial, so very big margin. Mostly products are from Germany, UK, France, Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, Italy, and Spain. Trading partners are Canada and USA, the United States of America, the big two countries in the North America. They're also trading with Middle East, Africa, Asia, and South America countries. So this, for example, very high quality, very expensive car from the brand Porsche. So Porsche is sport cars with well known for their engineering and manufacturing. It's one of the very influential cars around the world. So this is show how well the industry in Europe evolved and also create a high quality commerce strategy. Transportation. Transport network in Europe covers all over continent, especially Western Europe and Southern Europe, such as the land transport, air transport, and water transport. Talk about the land transport. Europe's road ring are mostly superhighway within 4 to 8 lanes. People can travel to countries within the continent by road. There are also railway connecting throughout the Europe using the TGV or TGV in English. TGV is what they call in French. It's a French word, railways network, which is famous among people who work in different towns or countries due to its high speed at 200 miles per hour. People that live in England can go to work in France in the morning and then come back home in the evening easily. This is the picture of TGV. Next is the air transport. Europe air transport is available across the continent. People prefer to fly to save time, making particular airport busy, such as the Charles de Gaulle Airport in France, Heathrow, the airport in UK, the Madrid Barajas Airport in Spain. And the famous airlines are Air France, British Airways, the Lufthansa, Air Italia, and Scandinavian Airlines. Water transport. Water transport is the mostly for purpose of commerce and industry. Water transport used to carry heavy freight like coal, minerals, cement, and cereals. The canal is dug for commercial and industrial purpose, such as when you cut the trees in the logging business. Instead of carrying through the roads, they throw the logs into the rivers and canal and let the boat to tow it to the shore. Tourism and people transport like the ship and ferry are also used water transportation. In a city like Venice in Italy, they are famously to travel in the boat. And some part of the country, such as the United Kingdom, when they travel to another part of the countries, they travel by ferries because the United Kingdoms and the Great Britain is kind of giant island near the Europe continent. So economic change of Europe's the unionization of European Union, or basically the foundation of European Unions, allows stable economic and politics. So this, when the emerge of the newborn industrial countries from North America and Asia, forced Europe to change their strategy to modern industry producing high quality products with higher price. Okay, for the unionizations allow Europe to have stable economic and politics to develop much easier and faster than other countries around the world. But then, when in 20th century this emerge of newborn industrial countries forced Europe to change their strategy of competition because they can't compete with these new countries. So what they did is they turned to the modern industry producing high quality products, and also they can create the trade barriers by the concern of the environment. For example, if you remember, Europe also produced fish and canned fish. Thailand also produced fish and canned fish. So when Thailand export these products to Europe with a cheaper cost of production, Thailand can set the price lower than the price of the products in Europe, making people to buy the products that have cheaper price, and Europe will lose profit. By doing so, they can create a tax barrier by focusing on the environmental concerns, such as Thailand captured the bluefin tuna, which is about to be extinct really soon. It's facing the extinction, so they banned the products that are made from the bluefin tuna, making Thailand unable to export to the market that we want to sell, making us lose profit. We have to change to other types of fish, or for some case like Thailand grows many agricultural products like rice and corn. When Thailand export this to Europe also have the similar products, so they will put the concern on environmental, like the rice from Thailand is contaminated with the pesticide, which can harm the health of the population, so they banned the products until Thailand were able to fix the issue, and causing Thailand to lose profits and let the Europes to maintain their own profit on their products. The global economic crisis in 2008 also caused economic recession all over the world, and also affecting the economy of Europe, and many countries almost collapsed. However, they were able to recover back in 2009 very quickly due to the work and the unionization of the European Union. And another cause of economic change in Europe is the Brexit, or the Great Britain exit from the European Union, caused negative effect on industry and commerce in UK and other countries, because when they exit the union, they lost the free trade benefit. Meaning, if there's some company build cars in UK and they want to sell in the other part of Europe, now they have to pay the import tax, because before, when the UK is still in the EU, they have the free trade benefit, meaning they can ship many products without tax to pay. So this can cause negative effect both in UK and in European unions. Okay, that's it for today. Now it's time for Q&A. If you shall have any questions, I want you to write down in the question box in the post in the Google Classroom. Okay, so I will try to answer the questions as fast as possible, and also to update further news that for turn-in homework, please temporarily turn in the work to my emails. It's pchaiyasak@gmail.com. It pronounced pchayasak.com @gmail.com, and I also list it in the post. Okay, so if you don't know where to turn in your homework, you can turn into my email for now. But when I figured out how can I let you turn in your work more systematically, we will change to that method. And also for those who are unable to work on your computer, I do not know why can't you work on your computer, since to go into this class you may need the computer or maybe some access from phone. So if that's the case, I am allow you to do the work in the paper, and then you need to capture the work and scan it into PDF file and send back to the email or the destination box for turn-in work. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for coming class, and have a wonderful day. Any questions, any suggestion, kindly put it in Q&A box in Google Classroom. Oh, and before, please remember, every time you come to class, please check your attendance in the box I provide. Do not create a new post whatsoever. Okay, thank you, and see you again next time.